Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Passion Gonzalez, and I am a psychologist. Most people don't need a pandemic, a shelter in order, a major life disruption to their regular daily routine to get depressed and anxious. It seems like almost overnight, everything has changed, and there are many things that will not be the same after this. Odds are, this is making your life and the life of those you care about at least a little more difficult and stressful. And for some, it can wreak havoc, some real havoc in your life. So I want to share a few ideas with you to help you and your loved ones, including your students, to have a fighting chance of getting through this disruptive time. Now, these suggestions that I have for you are not earth-shattering, and for most of you won't surprise you at all. But it can sometimes help to bring some fundamentals of good self-care to your attention to make sure you are focusing on the right things. I like these recommendations because they are quick, they're simple, they're safe, they're easy to implement. As a psychologist of about 25 years, I'm still amazed how quickly people can bounce back when they pay attention to some of these activities, often in as little as about 2 weeks. So, let's get started. 5 simple ways to beat depression and anxiety. First of all, you don't have to be a psychologist to do a very simple, brief screening for depression. 2 simple questions that you can ask yourself or your loved ones is, have you lost interest or pleasure in things that you normally find enjoyable? And do you feel down, depressed, and hopeless? Now let's be clear. No one is going to diagnose depression based off these 2 questions, but this may give you a heads up if this needs to be looked at closer. The truth is, depression is a lot more than just feeling sad, down, and gloomy. There's a whole host of symptoms and changes that tend to go along with that. For example, being irritable, there might be some body complaints, stomach aches and headaches. There's usually some sort of disruption to sleep, sometimes more sleep, sometimes less. There can be changes to your appetite. People can become withdrawn. For children especially, there may be more acting out behavior. For adults, they may get more irritable and grouchy, and certainly some changes in their daily functioning. So if you have questions about depression, by all means seek out a professional. So whether or not you may suffer from clinical depression, these behavioral interventions still are very helpful for stress, anxiety, for sleep problems, lots of different things. Why behavioral changes? Well, first of all, we want to look for simple changes that are going to give you the maximum benefit, and that's what these behavioral changes will do. Number 2, we find that the impact, the benefit is really fast acting. A lot of people find within 2 weeks they are noticeably feeling better. Sometimes making these changes can help people avoid or at least reduce some antidepressants and medications for anxiety. Also, I hear people struggle a lot with motivation when they're depressed. Making these changes can actually enhance or improve motivation. All right, so here are the quick and simple interventions. Number 1, schedule daily activities. These include things like regular exercise. Anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week is really, really helpful. Now, it's interesting. Some of the research out there suggests that regular exercise, again, 3 to 5 days a week for 30 to 45 minutes, is probably more beneficial for your mental health, for stress, anxiety, depression, than even being on antidepressant medications or coming to see a therapist. So, as far as I'm concerned, with the research that I've read, exercise is not optional. If you are seriously want to give yourself a chance to be at your best, exercise absolutely has to be a part of your regular weekly routine. Next, you want to schedule purposeful and pleasurable activities. Now, purposeful activities are things that you have to do, things that are important to you, things that are meaningful to you. They're not necessarily fun, but they're important, so you have to get them done. And so you want to be able to schedule those things. But you also want to find a balance between things that you just enjoy, things that are fun, things that are engaging for you, right? So if you can find a good balance between those things, it'll be really, really helpful. Next, if you're the kind of person who tends to oversleep, when you're feeling down or discouraged, we really want to limit oversleeping as much as possible. If this is an issue for you, you may need to be very careful about napping during the day. The last thing you want to schedule is being sure you're eating regular meals, particularly if you're the kind of person who tends to lose your appetite when you're stressed out. Making sure that you're eating something for breakfast, something for lunch, something for dinner every day keeps your metabolism up and can have a very significant impact on your mood, motivation, and even concentration. So what happens is exercise and eating are two ways that we keep our metabolism up. And for depression and for sadness and for stress, we want our metabolism up so we can be active and think clearly and have the best chances of feeling better. Next up is building and using your social support network. Now, all of us know that right now with these shelter-in orders, this is extremely difficult, and all of us need to be very, very creative and intentional about how we stay connected when we can't physically be around other people. I really just want to encourage you not to disconnect from other people. Find ways where you can talk on the phone, where you can connect via social media, reach out to people, because it's not just you who need to connect with other people, but the people also need to connect with you for their well-being. So do not ignore this area of your life. We are social creatures. We are just designed to connect with other people. None of us are really wired to be lone wolves, even though many of us feel more comfortable alone. Next, think about some ways to intentionally relax. There are lots of resources online. There are some relaxation exercises and some scripts available out there. There's a technique called diaphragmatic breathing, which is very helpful. It's quick and you can do it anywhere. So I really encourage people to use that one a lot for anxiety, for stress, for sleep problems. And be sure that you schedule some downtime, especially if you're the kind of person who is just on the run all the time. And of course, do not be afraid to schedule time in your day, in your week, to meditate, to read scripture, to pray. Don't be afraid to spend some time inside your own head. Next, put good fuel in your engine. Okay? We already talked about the value of eating regular meals and putting good things in your body that way. And this is no surprise to anybody. Alcohol and other drugs, they feel better in the short run, but everybody knows that over the long haul, they actually don't make us feel better. Alcohol is a known depressant. If you're already depressed and discouraged, adding alcohol to the mix is much like you're having a fire in your kitchen and you decide to throw kerosene on it to try to put it out. It's just going to make everything worse, right? So again, I know you know this, but just a reminder. Also, a lot of caffeine and sugar. When you're home, when you're bored, it's a lot easier to reach for those things. I know that's certainly true for me, but I just want to remind you that the better the fuel, the better your engine is going to run. And that's not just your physical engine, but your emotional and your mental engine as well. Okay, so those are a couple things that you can do. And here's a couple of ideas to change how you think to help you cope with difficult times. I want you to think about the only 4 things in the whole entire universe that you have any control over at all. There's just 4, and it's always the same things. It's been true from the dawn of time. It'll be true until the end of time. It's true for everybody on the planet, for you and me and everybody else you know. And it's just 4 things. And here they are. Your own actions, your behaviors, what you do. Second, your words, what you say, the actual physical words that come out of your mouth, and also the things that you tell yourself. Third, your thoughts. Not only how you think about the world, but what you see, your values, what matters to you, your perspective, your perceptions about the things going on around you. Everything inside your thought world, I'm going to argue, is pretty much under your control, okay? So your words, your thoughts, your actions. Now, the fourth thing that you're responsible for is your emotions or your feelings. But the problem is we can't control them or change them directly. None of us has the option to just get up one day and say, today I think I'm going to feel sad. Tomorrow I'll feel guilty. And the next day I think I'll feel happy. You all know that that's not how that works. Although people tell us all the time, hey, just snap out of it. Just don't worry about things, right? But we know that that really just doesn't work. But here's what we find. If you take control and take responsibility and change your actions, if you change your words, if you change how you think, those are the things that have the biggest impact on how you feel. Now, a few of you are going to push back on this, and that's fine with me. But I want you to hear the idea that the things around you have much, much less impact on how you feel than those three things that we just talked about: your actions, your words, and your thoughts. Now, I'm not saying that the world doesn't matter, and I'm not saying that what other people say, think, and feel don't influence us. But if we're talking about what has the biggest impact on how we feel, it's going to be those three things: your words, your thoughts, and your actions. So I'm going to encourage you to, whatever the situation, to really look at what you can say, what you can do, how you can look at this situation differently to help you cope better. Okay, lastly, I want to talk about the relationship between feelings and action, because here's what I get all the time. Doctor, I understand all these things make sense, but the problem is I don't have the motivation. The energy is not there. How do you get started making these changes when you're just not feeling it? So here's how I think about it. Most people believe that the feeling comes first and then the action follows. You have to feel motivated first, and then once that happens, then you can take action. And the problem is when the motivation's not there, people put all of the energy they have in trying to get more motivated instead of just getting to work. For example, I can't get to the gym to work out until I get motivated. The truth is, if you can get to the gym, you're going to feel motivated and energized because you went. So from this perspective, I tend to think about motivation as a paycheck, the thing you get after you work, not the thing you get before. Lawyers are the only industry I know where you get paid before you do the work. Almost everybody else on the planet, you get paid afterwards. So for me, when people want to focus on motivation to get started, I encourage them to just take that motivation word out of their vocabulary and instead focus on a commitment, a schedule to get things done that they need to accomplish. So in my mind, commitment and schedule trumps motivation every day of the week. Focus on getting the job done and trusting that the motivation, the excitement, the energy, even feeling better is going to improve once you do those things that we talked about earlier. Okay, so that's my spiel. These are things that I tell my patients every day of the week. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's depression, anxiety, stress, whatever the issue is, making these changes behaviorally and internally can be really, really helpful. So I hope that they're helpful for you too. Again, these may not be any new ideas for you at all, but I want to put them together in one package for you so that you can be reminded of the things that actually are going to make a difference for you. Okay? As you know, being teachers and being in the education world, listening to a thing is different from learning it, right? If you really want to get this stuff, you're going to have to not just remember it, but you're going to have to practice it quite a bit over time. But these are the best skills that I found that help people enough where they don't even necessarily need to come talk to a psychologist. So hope this is helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions and if I can help you out through this tough time.